The starship Resolute moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was the year 2347, and humanity had finally built a ship fast enough to travel between stars. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the view screen. In front of him was something no human had ever seen before. A massive space station floated in the void, bigger than any city on Earth. Lights covered every surface. Ships of strange designs moved around it like fish swimming near a reef. "That is the Nexus," said Dr. Nathan Cole. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent his whole life studying languages, and now he would try to speak with beings from other worlds. The home of the Galactic Council. 12 species have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years from that station. Commander Claire Bennett stood near the weapons console. She was a tall woman with short black hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. Her job was to keep the ship and crew safe. Right now, she did not feel safe at all. "Admiral," she said quietly, "I am reading over 300 warships around that station. Any one of them is bigger than our entire fleet back home." Jack Morrison nodded slowly. He was 52 years old. His hair had turned white from years of stress and responsibility. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth before humans even knew aliens existed. Now he was supposed to make friends with creatures who could destroy his entire species without effort. "We knew this would not be easy," he said. "But we did not come all this way to turn back. Open a channel." The communication officer pressed several buttons. A moment later, a face appeared on the screen. It was not a human face. The creature had blue skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth. It wore robes of gold and silver. "I am High Arbiter Vorthok of the Zelani species," the creature said. Its voice was cold and flat. "You are the humans. We've been watching your little species for some time. You have finally managed to leave your small corner of space. How amusing." Jack Morrison kept his face calm. He had dealt with arrogant enemies before. "I am Admiral Jack Morrison. I represent the United Earth Government. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with the Galactic Council." Vorthok made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace. Yes, all the young species talk of peace when they first arrive. They have no choice. You have seen our station. You have seen our ships. You know what we could do to your worlds if we wished." Dr. Cole stepped forward. "High Arbiter, humanity has much to offer. We are skilled builders, creative thinkers, and hard workers. We believe in fair trade and mutual respect between species." "Mutual respect?" Vorthok's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "Little human, the Galactic Council has existed since before your ancestors climbed down from trees. We do not seek your respect. We offer you a choice. You may accept vassal status under Council protection. You will pay tribute, follow our laws, and serve our interests. In return, we will allow you to exist." Claire Bennett's hand moved closer to her weapon controls. Jack Morrison noticed but shook his head slightly. "And if we refuse?" the Admiral asked. "Then you will be denied access to all galactic trade routes. You will be cut off from resources, technology, and contact with other species. You will remain alone in your little corner of space until you change your mind or until you die out. It makes no difference to us." Jack Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Every person on the bridge held their breath. This was the moment that would shape humanity's future. "High Arbiter," Jack said finally, "humanity thanks you for this offer. But we must respectfully decline. We do not wish to be servants. We wish to be partners, equals. We believe we can earn that position through our actions and contributions." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Equals? You truly believe that a species that discovered fire only a few thousand years ago can stand equal to civilizations that were old when your planet was still cooling. Your pride is foolish, human. Perhaps, Jack admitted. But it is who we are. We do not kneel easily. It is not in our nature. Vorthik leaned back in his chair. Very well. You have made your choice. You have one solar cycle to reconsider. After that, the Council will take appropriate action to remind you of your place in this galaxy. End transmission. The screen went dark. Claire Bennett finally let out a breath. That went about as badly as it could have. Dr. Cole shook his head sadly. They see us as insects. Less than insects. They have ruled for so long that they cannot imagine anyone refusing them. Jack Morrison turned away from the screen. His face was thoughtful. Set course for Earth. We need to report to the President. Do you think they will really punish us for refusing? Asked a young officer at the navigation station. Jack Morrison did not answer right away. He walked to the window and looked out at the massive station one last time. Somewhere in there, ancient beings were already planning humanity's punishment. He could feel it in his bones. They will try to scare us, he said finally. They will try to show us that we are weak and they are strong. That is what powerful beings do when someone refuses to bow. They make an example. Claire Bennett moved to stand beside him. Then we should prepare for war. No, Jack said quietly. We should prepare for anything. War. Blockade. Sanctions. Whatever they throw at us, humanity will face it together. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars among ourselves. We did not come this far to kneel before the first aliens we meet. The Resolute turned slowly and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the great station grew smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. None of them knew that the Council had already made its decision. As the human ship departed, Vorthak was meeting with his allies. 3 species had agreed to his plan. They would strike 3 human colony worlds without warning. They would kill millions. They would teach these arrogant newcomers what happened to those who refused the Council's generous offer. In his quarters that night, Jack Morrison wrote a message to his daughter back on Earth. He told her that he loved her. He told her that he had done his best to make peace. He told her that whatever happened next, she should remember that humanity had stood tall and refused to surrender its dignity. He did not know that in 3 weeks, he would be leading the largest fleet humanity had ever built. He did not know that the galaxy was about to learn why humans were never meant to be anyone's servants. The stars waited in silence. They had seen empires rise and fall for billions of years. Soon, they would see something new. They would see what happened when ancient power met human determination, and nothing would ever be the same again. New Haven was a beautiful world. Green fields stretched from horizon to horizon. Rivers of clean water ran through valleys filled with farms and small towns. 2 million people lived there, growing food for the other human colonies. Children played in schoolyards. Farmers worked their land. Families sat down to dinner together, not knowing it would be their last. Governor Ethan Price was in his office when the first alarm sounded. He was a large man with a kind face and hands roughened by years of farm work before he entered politics. He ran to the window and looked up at the sky. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Ships. Dozens of ships. They were not human ships. They were Council warships, and they were already firing. The first blast hit the capital city. Buildings turned to dust in an instant. Thousands of people died before they could even scream. The ground shook like an earthquake had struck. Fire spread in every direction. Governor Price grabbed the emergency communicator on his desk. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. This is Governor Ethan Price of New Haven Colony. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Council warships are bombing civilian targets. We have no military presence. We cannot defend ourselves. Please, if anyone can hear this, send help." He kept transmitting as the building around him began to crack. More blasts struck the city. He could hear people screaming outside. He could smell smoke and something worse. He kept talking, giving coordinates, describing what he saw, until a direct hit finally silenced him forever. His message traveled at the speed of light across space. It reached Earth. It reached every human colony. Every human who could receive it heard his voice, heard the explosions, heard the screaming, and then they heard silence. The attack lasted 6 hours. When it was over, New Haven was gone. 2 million people reduced to ashes and memories. The council ships moved on to the next target. Prospect was a mining colony. 500,000 workers lived there with their families. They had 15 minutes warning. It was not enough. The bombs fell. The mines collapsed. The people died. Arcadia was a research station. Scientists and their children lived in domed cities on a frozen moon. They saw the ships coming. Some tried to hide in the ice caves. The council ships melted the ice. No one survived. 12 million humans died in a single day. Men, women, and children. Workers and teachers. Doctors and farmers. Grandparents and babies. All gone. On Earth, President Lisa Monroe received the news at 3 in the morning. She listened to Governor Price's final transmission. She watched the satellite footage of New Haven burning. She read the reports from the other colonies. When she was finished, she sat alone in her office for 1 hour. She did not cry. She did not scream. She did not break anything. She simply sat and thought about what she needed to do. At noon, she addressed the United Nations Emergency Assembly. Every leader on Earth was present. Every screen on the planet showed her face. "Citizens of Earth," she began. Her voice was calm and clear. "Early this morning, forces of the Galactic Council attacked 3 of our colony worlds without warning. They offered no declaration of war. They made no demands. They simply came and killed." She paused. The room was absolutely silent. New Haven, Prospect, Arcadia. These were not military targets. These were homes. These were families. These were 12 million human souls who wanted nothing more than to live in peace and build a future for their children. She held up a piece of paper. "I have here. Message from High Arbiter Vorthik of the Galactic Council." It arrived 1 hour after the attacks ended. It says, and I quote, "Let this be a lesson to the human species. Accept your place or face destruction. The Council's patience is not unlimited." President Monroe set the paper down slowly. "The Council believes they have taught us a lesson. They believe we will now kneel. They believe that the deaths of 12 million innocent people will break our spirit and bend our will." Her eyes hardened. "They are wrong." She stood straighter. "I am asking this assembly for a declaration of total war against the Galactic Council and all species who participated in these attacks. I am asking for every resource, every ship, every weapon we can build. I am asking humanity to stand together as one people with one purpose." A delegate raised his hand. "Madam President, the Council has thousands of warships. We have perhaps 200. How can we possibly win?" Lisa Monroe looked at him with eyes that showed no fear. "I do not know if we can win," she said honestly. "But I know that we cannot accept this. I know that if we kneel now, we will kneel forever. I know that every human who has ever lived would rather die fighting than live as slaves to creatures who murdered children." She turned back to the full assembly. "The vote is simple. Yes or no, war or surrender. There is no middle ground. The Council has made sure of that." The vote took less than 5 minutes. Every nation, every delegate, every leader voted yes. For the first time in human history, Earth was truly united. United in grief. United in rage. United in determination. Admiral Jack Morrison received his orders that same day. He was given command of everything. Every ship. Every soldier. Every weapon. His mission was simple. Make the council pay. Dr. Nathan Cole came to see him before he left Earth. The linguist's face was gray with grief. His younger sister had been a teacher on New Haven. She had been showing her students how to grow tomatoes when the bombs fell. "I want to come with you," Nathan said. Jack looked at him. "You are a scientist, not a soldier. I know the council. I know their languages, their cultures, their weaknesses. You will need me." Jack Morrison saw something in the old man's eyes. It was not just grief. It was purpose. It was the need to do something, anything, to honor those who had died. "Welcome aboard," Jack said. Across Earth and every surviving colony, humans prepared for war. Factories that had made cars now made weapons. Schools taught engineering and combat tactics. Young men and women lined up to join the military. Old veterans came out of retirement to train them. No one complained. No one questioned. Humanity had been wounded, but it was not broken. It was changing. It was becoming something hard and sharp and dangerous. In the quiet hours of the night, families looked at photographs of those they had lost. They whispered promises to the dead. They swore that the sacrifice would not be forgotten. They swore that justice would come. The council watched from afar and waited for humanity's surrender. They had done this to 100 species before. The pattern was always the same. Strike hard, strike without warning, and the young species would submit. They did not understand humans. They did not understand that sometimes pain does not break the spirit. Sometimes it forges it into steel. The Resolute left Earth orbit on a Tuesday morning. Behind it came 200 other ships. It was not much of a fleet compared to the Council's might. But every ship was crewed by humans who had lost someone. Humans who had nothing left but rage and purpose. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the stars ahead. "Set course for Zelani space," he ordered. "It is time to show the Council what happens when you attack humanity." The engines roared to life. The fleet moved forward into the darkness. The war had begun. 18 months passed in silence. The Galactic Council waited for humanity's surrender. Every day, they expected a message begging for mercy. Every day, they heard nothing. The humans had gone quiet. High Arbiter Vorthak was not worried. He had seen this before. Young species sometimes needed time to accept their defeat. They would sulk in their corner of space, lick their wounds, and eventually come crawling back. It was only a matter of time. He was wrong. During those 18 months, humanity worked. They worked harder than they had ever worked before. Every factory ran day and night. Every scientist pushed the limits of what was possible. Every engineer found ways to make ships faster, weapons stronger, shields thicker. Commander Claire Bennett spent those months developing something new. She called it the doctrine of reciprocity. The idea was simple but brutal. For every human world destroyed, 3 council worlds would pay the price. For every civilian killed, 10 military targets would burn. The council had shown humanity how to play this game. Now humanity would show them what happened when humans played to win. Admiral Morrison gathered his officers in the war room of the Resolute. The ship had been rebuilt and upgraded. It was no longer a diplomatic vessel. It was a warship designed for one purpose. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison said, "today we begin our response. Our target is Zilara Prime, homeworld of the Zelani. High Arbiter Vorthak ordered the attack on our colonies. He will be the first to feel our answer." A young officer raised his hand. "Sir, Zilara Prime has the strongest defenses in Zelani space. Orbital platforms, defense satellites, and at least 50 warships. How do we break through? Claire Bennett stepped forward. A map appeared on the screen behind her. We do not break through, she said. We go around. Human ships are smaller and faster than council vessels. We can exit hyperspace closer to the planet than their sensors can track. By the time they react, we will already be firing. Dr. Nathan Cole spoke next. The Zilani believe in overwhelming force. They always have more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. They do not know how to fight an enemy who refuses to line up and die in neat rows. Morrison nodded. We will hit them fast and hard. We will destroy their military installations, their shipyards, their defense platforms. Then we will leave. We will not occupy their world. We will not kill their civilians. We will show them that humanity has the power to destroy, but chooses to be precise. Why spare the civilians? Someone asked. They did not spare ours. Morrison's face grew hard. Because we are not them. Because if we become monsters to fight monsters, we lose something that can never be recovered. The Council thinks humans are savages. We will prove them wrong while we tear their military apart. The fleet moved into position. 237 ships, each one crewed by humans who had trained for this moment. Engineers had found ways to make the engines run hotter and faster. Weapons officers had practiced until they could hit a target in their sleep. Everyone knew their job at exactly midnight Earth time. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace above Zilara Prime. The Zilani had no warning. One moment their sky was clear. The next moment, it was full of human ships firing everything they had. The first orbital platform exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second. Then the third. Human fighters swarmed the defense satellites, destroying them before they could power up. The 50 warships tried to form a defensive line, but the human fleet was already inside their formation. Claire Bennett commanded the battle from her station. Her voice was calm and steady as she gave orders. Alpha Squadron, target the shipyards. Beta Squadron, suppress those warships. All heavy cruisers focused fire on the main defense station. The Zilani fought back, but they were confused. Their tactics were designed for enemies who stayed at long range and traded shots until one side ran out of ships. The humans did not stay at long range. They dove into close quarters, spinning and weaving between enemy vessels, hitting weak points that should have been impossible to reach. 6 hours later, it was over. The orbital defenses of Zilara Prime were gone. The shipyards that had built the ships that bombed New Haven were burning wreckage. 12 Zilani warships had been destroyed, and the rest had fled. Not a single human ship had been lost. Admiral Morrison opened the communication channel. He broadcast his message to the entire galaxy. Every species with a receiver heard his voice. The screen showed footage of New Haven burning, children running through flames, buildings collapsing. Governor Price's final transmission played over the images. Then the footage changed. It showed Zilara Prime's defenses crumbling. Fire and explosions filled the sky. Zilani warships running away from human fighters. Then Morrison spoke. People of the galaxy, 18 months ago, the Galactic Council attacked 3 human colony worlds. They killed 12 million of our people. Civilians, families, children. They did this because we refused to kneel. He paused. Today, we have answered that attack. We have destroyed the military forces of Zilara Prime, homeworld of the species that ordered our people's deaths. We did not attack their cities. We did not kill their civilians. We are not like them. His voice grew harder. But make no mistake, this is only the beginning. The Council believed humanity would submit. The Council believed we would pardon the murder of our children because we were young and weak. They were wrong about both. He leaned forward. We do not pardon. We do not forget. And we have only just begun. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched in shock. The Council had ruled for 50,000 years. No species had ever struck back like this. No species had ever dared. On Zilara Prime, panic spread through the cities. The humans had spared them, but for how long? What would they do next? The people demanded answers from their leaders. Their leaders had no answers to give. On the Council station, Vorthok watched the human message with cold fury. His hands gripped the arms of his chair until his blue skin turned pale. "They will pay for this," he whispered. "Every last one of them will pay." But deep inside, in a place he would never admit existed, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Something that made his four hearts beat faster. Fear. The humans were coming. And nothing in 50,000 years of galactic history had prepared the Council for what that meant. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Morrison allowed himself a small smile. "Set course for our next target," he said. "The Council has 11 more species to hear from. Let us not keep them waiting." The fleet turned and vanished into hyperspace. The war had truly begun. The news of Zilara Prime spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species, every world, every being who had access to a screen watched the footage. They saw the mighty Zilani defenses crumble. They heard the human admiral's words. They saw something they had never seen in 50,000 years. They saw the Council bleed. High Arbiter Vorthak called an emergency meeting of all 12 Council species. The Great Chamber on Nexus Station had seen countless gatherings over the millennia, but never one quite like this. Fear hung in the air like smoke. "We must retaliate immediately," Vorthak demanded. His four eyes burned with hatred. "Every ship we have must gather and strike at Earth itself. We will burn their homeworld to ashes and scatter their species across the void." Council member Shaveth of the Korath raised her slender hand. She was ancient, even by her species standards, with silver scales that had seen the rise and fall of 100 civilizations. "And how many ships did we lose at Zilara Prime?" she asked quietly. Vorthak hesitated. 12. But that is not important. We have thousands more. 12 ships lost to a species we considered beneath notice, Shaveth continued. How many will we lose attacking their homeworld? Their core systems? They will be ready for us. They will fight to the last human. What will be the cost? The cost does not matter, Vorthak growled. They insulted us. They attacked us. They must be destroyed. Shaveth leaned forward. High Arbiter, I have a question. Before you answer, remember that many of us were not told the truth about what happened 18 months ago. The chamber grew very quiet. We were told that the attack on human colonies was a defensive strike. We were told that humans had been building weapons to attack us. We were told many things. Her ancient eyes fixed on Vorthok. Were any of them true? Vorthok said nothing. Shaveth continued. I have reviewed the records. The humans made no threats. They built no weapons beyond what any young species needs for self-defense. They came to us asking for friendship. And you ordered the murder of 12 million civilians to teach them their place. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was not defense, Shaveth said, her voice rising. This was massacre. And you did it in the name of all of us without our consent. Another council member stood. He was from the Vethkai species, massive beings who looked like living mountains. His voice rumbled like thunder. My people did not vote for this attack. We were not even told it was happening until after it was done. Now humans are destroying military installations across Zilani space, and you want us to sacrifice our ships to clean up your mess. More voices joined in. Old anger, held back for centuries, finally broke free. It became clear that only 3 species had known about and supported the attack on human colonies. The other 9 had been lied to. Far from the council chamber, Admiral Morrison received a secret message. It came through a back channel that Dr. Nathan Cole had established with the help of some old academic contacts. The message was from Shoveth herself. "I am taking a great risk to contact you," her recorded voice said. "The council is not united. Only 3 species wanted this war. The rest of us want no part of it. We were deceived." Nathan Cole played the message from Morrison and Claire Bennett in the Admiral's private quarters. "Can we trust her?" Claire asked. Nathan nodded slowly. "The Karath have a reputation for honesty. They consider lying to be shameful. If Shoveth says she was deceived, I believe her." Morrison thought carefully. "If the council is divided, we can use that. Instead of fighting all 12 species, we fight only the guilty ones." He drafted a response to Shoveth. And then he did something that changed everything. President Lisa Monroe appeared on every screen in the galaxy. Her message was broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages. Any being with ears could hear her words. "People of the galaxy," she began, "humanity did not want this war. We came to the council seeking friendship and partnership. We were answered with the murder of 12 million innocent people." She paused. "But we know that not all council species supported this attack. We know that many of you were lied to, just as we were attacked without warning. We are not your enemy. We do not seek revenge against the innocent." Her voice softened. "Today, I make this offer. Any species that condemns the attack on human colonies and withdraws from the Council Alliance will receive full amnesty from humanity. No attacks. No retaliation. Instead, we offer the possibility of future friendship and fair trade." She straightened. "But to the 3 species who ordered and carried out the murder of our people, we say this: there will be no amnesty. There will be no pardon. You will face justice for what you have done. This is not negotiable." The message ended. For 3 days, the galaxy held its breath. Then the responses came. The Korath were first. Shoveth appeared before her people and announced that they would accept humanity's offer. They had been deceived into supporting a war of aggression, and they would have no more part of it. The Vethkai followed. Then the Minari. Then the Salaith. Within a week, 5 species had publicly condemned the attacks and withdrawn from the Council Alliance. Vorthik watched his empire crumble from the great chamber that now felt very empty. "Traitors," he hissed. "Cowards. They abandon us when we need them most." His 2 remaining allies, the Dracoth and the Vashkar, stood with him. Both were warrior species who had helped carry out the attacks. Both were now trapped. "We still have the largest fleet," the Dracoth commander said. "Even without the defectors, we outnumber the humans 10 to 1. Vorthik's 4 eyes narrowed. "Then we will gather that fleet. We will meet the humans in open battle. And we will crush them so completely that no species will ever dare defy the council again." He began sending orders. Ships from across Solani, Dracoth, and Vashkar space began moving toward a single point, Nexus Prime itself. They would make their stand at the heart of council power. Admiral Morrison watched the enemy fleet gather from the bridge of the Resolute. His own forces had grown. Some of the defecting species had not just withdrawn from the council. They had offered ships, supplies, and intelligence to humanity. "They are bringing everything they have," Claire Bennett reported. "Nearly 3,000 warships." Morrison looked at his own fleet. 700 ships. Better than before, but still vastly outnumbered. "Then we had better fight smart," he said. "Begin planning for the Battle of Nexus Prime." Nathan Cole stood at the back of the bridge. He thought of his sister, who had died on New Haven. He thought of the children she had been teaching when the bombs fell. Soon, he thought, soon there will be justice. Outside the viewport, the stars burned cold and eternal. They had watched the council rule for 50,000 years. Now they would watch something new. They would watch an empire fall. The sky above Nexus Prime was filled with ships. Nearly 3,000 council warships had gathered around the ancient station, the largest fleet assembled in galactic history. At the center of this massive force was the flagship of High Arbiter Vorthek, a vessel so large that smaller ships looked like insects flying around it. Vorthek stood on the command bridge and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the humans were coming. He had spent his entire life believing that the council was untouchable. Now a species that had barely learned to walk upright was threatening everything he had built. "Let them come," he whispered. "Let them see the true power of the council." Admiral Jack Morrison emerged from hyperspace at the head of 700 human and allied ships. It was the largest force humanity had ever put together, but it was still less than a quarter of what waited for them. "Enemy fleet detected," Claire Bennett reported. Her voice was steady, but Morrison could see the tension in her shoulders. "Approximately 2,800 warships. They have formed a defensive sphere around the station." Morrison studied the formation on his screen. The council fleet was arranged in layers, with the heaviest ships in the center and lighter vessels forming an outer shell. It was a classic defensive setup, designed to absorb attacks and grind down any attacker. "They expect us to throw ourselves against their wall until we break," he said. "They do not understand that walls only work if your enemy cooperates." Nathan Cole had been studying council military history for months. "The Zolani have never lost a major battle," he said. "They believe that superior numbers always win. They do not have a plan for when that belief fails." Claire Bennett pulled up her tactical display. "I have identified 3 weak points in their formation. If we hit all 3 at the same time with maximum force, we can split their fleet into separate groups that cannot support each other." Morrison nodded. "Give the order. All ships, prepare for combat. We fight in 3 hours." The human fleet split into 3 groups. Each one would approach from a different angle, timing their attacks to strike at exactly the same moment. It was a complicated plan that required perfect coordination. The council fleet saw the humans dividing their forces and assumed they were making a mistake. Surely the primitives would realize their error and retreat. No sane commander would attack a force 4 times their size with a split formation. They did not understand human thinking. They did not understand that sometimes the crazy idea is the right idea. At exactly noon Earth time, the Battle of Nexus Prime began. The first human group, led by Morrison himself, dove straight toward the center of the council formation. Enemy ships turned to face them, confident in their numbers. Then the second group hit them from above. Then the third group hit them from below. Chaos erupted across the battlefield. Council ships tried to reform their lines, but human vessels were everywhere. Fighters swarmed through gaps in the formation, attacking engines and weapon systems. Heavy cruisers targeted the connections between fleet groups, preventing them from coordinating. Claire Bennett led a squadron of fast attack ships toward Vorthek's flagship. Her pilots were the best humanity had, young men and women who had grown up hearing stories of the colonies that had burned. They flew like demons possessed. The flagship's defenses were strong, but Claire had studied every report, every scan, every piece of intelligence they had gathered. She knew where the shield generators were. She knew where the armor was thinnest. She knew exactly how to hurt this ship. "All fighters, target the engine section," she commanded. "Do not let them run." Human missiles slammed into the flagship's engines. Explosions rippled across its hull. The massive ship shuddered and began to slow. On the bridge of the flagship, alarms screamed. Vorthek watched his display with growing horror. His fleet was falling apart. Ships were retreating, surrendering, exploding. The humans were not fighting the way anyone had ever fought before. They were everywhere at once, hitting weak points, refusing to stand still long enough to be destroyed. "High Arbiter," his second-in-command said. "We have lost engine power. Shields are failing. We must abandon ship." "No," Vorthik snarled. "I will not run from these animals." But the choice was taken from him. Human boarding pods slammed into the flagship's hull. Soldiers in powered armor cut through the walls and began fighting their way toward the bridge. They were faster and stronger than any enemy the Zolani had ever faced. The battle raged for 17 hours. When it finally ended, the Council fleet had been shattered. Over 1,000 ships destroyed. Nearly as many had surrendered. The rest had fled into the darkness of space. Vorthik was captured alive. Human soldiers found him on the bridge of his crippled flagship, still giving orders to ships that no longer existed. They brought him to the resolute in chains. Admiral Morrison met him in the ship's conference room. Nathan Cole stood beside him as translator, though Vorthik had learned to speak human language well enough. Claire Bennett stood guard at the door. "You have lost," Morrison said simply. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. Your species and the two who followed you will face justice for what you did to our people." Vorthik stared at him with 4 eyes full of hatred. "Justice? This is not justice. This is revenge. You have destroyed an order that kept peace in this galaxy for 50,000 years." Morrison shook his head. "Your peace was built on fear and murder. You kept order by destroying anyone who refused to obey. That is not peace. That is slavery. And what will you replace it with?" Vorthik demanded. "Chaos? War? Do you think you can rule the galaxy better than we did?" "We do not want to rule anyone," Morrison replied. "We want to live as free people among free people. Your kind could never understand that." Nathan Cole stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes held years of grief. "My sister was a teacher on New Haven," he said quietly. "She was showing children how to grow vegetables when your ships came. She never hurt anyone. She never threatened anyone. She just wanted to help children learn." He paused. "You killed her. You killed millions like her. Not because they were dangerous, but because you wanted to teach us a lesson. Because you thought we were beneath you." Vorthik said nothing. "You were wrong," Nathan continued. "Humanity does not pardon the murder of innocent people. Not for power. Not for politics. Not for any reason. You will spend the rest of your life answering for what you did. And every being in this galaxy will know why." The tribunal was held 3 months later. Representatives from humanity and the former council species who had defected sat in judgment. Evidence was presented. Witnesses spoke. The truth of what had happened to New Haven Prospect and Arcadia was laid bare for all to see. Vorthik and the leaders of the 3 aggressor species were found guilty of crimes against humanity and against galactic civilization. Their governments would pay reparations for generations. Their military power would be broken forever. They would never again be able to threaten anyone. President Lisa Monroe delivered the final verdict. The defendants sought to rule through fear. They believed that murder and terror would keep them in power forever. They were wrong. Fear can control people for a while, but it cannot last. Sooner or later, someone will stand up. Someone will say no. Someone will fight back. She looked at the guilty leaders. Humanity said no. We fought back. And now you will face the consequences of your actions. This is not revenge. This is justice. And justice is what keeps civilization together. 20 years later, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The old council was gone, replaced by the Galactic Assembly, where every species had an equal voice. Humanity held a permanent seat, earned through sacrifice and determination. Nathan Cole served as humanity's first ambassador to the Assembly. He spent his days building bridges between species, creating the future his sister had dreamed of. Claire Bennett commanded the defense fleet that protected human space. She trained the next generation of officers, teaching them that strength and mercy could exist together. Admiral Jack Morrison retired to a small farm on Earth. He grew vegetables in his garden and watched the stars at night. Sometimes he thought about everything that had happened. Sometimes he wondered if it had been worth the cost. Then he would remember the 12 million who had died. He would remember why humanity had fought. And he would know that some things were worth any price. Every year, on the anniversary of the New Haven attack, humans across the galaxy observed a moment of silence. They remembered the dead. They remembered the sacrifice. They remembered the lesson that had been taught to a galaxy that had forgotten what justice meant. Humanity does not pardon genocide. Humanity does not forget its children. And humanity will always, always fight for what is right. The stars burned on in the endless night, watching over a galaxy that had finally learned to respect the small blue world and its stubborn people. The story was over. But humanity's journey among the stars was only beginning.